Hey everyone, John here from School of Trade. Today we're going to be taking a look at a short trade here on the S&P, shorting at 2140 and a quarter, looking for a move down of a pretty decent size, honestly. We're looking for a move down to potentially around the lows over here at around 35.5, maybe a little bit further, but overall the objectives, that's where they're going to be currently. Now the stop placement, you have two different options. You can place a stop above the highs here, or what I prefer in this situation is going a little bit tighter to 2143. Now, I don't really think there is a wrong option either way. You know, if you use the larger one, just make sure that your target is equal to your stop. If you're using the smaller one, same deal. Overall, though, I like the objective a little bit further down to 36. Now, the reason I like the short here at 2140 and a quarter, we are selling in the middle of this smaller range, and we're selling pretty low into that range, so it's a little bit tough. But if you go back to the newsletter that we talked about last night, the S&P is stuck in the exact same range that we had yesterday, right? Look at the overall movement that we had yesterday. If we make this full screen here, we can see this is the same place, right? Look at the highs, 2146.85 down to 2143.5. And then the lows down here as well. And 2143.5. Keep that level in mind, because when we move this out of the way, guess what we just cycled off of? 2143.5. We found a bunch of resistance to the tick off of that level. So the fact that they found resistance off that level so aggressively essentially means that we're in the exact same range. And the likelihood of our next objective is going to be pushing down to the lows of that range. Now, the lows of that range are down at 31.5. That's a decent ways away, and given that it is such a slow day and we do have an overall pretty sturdy range kind of forming in itself, we have a small range here, they broke out a little bit, formed a new range here, etc. What I'm looking for them to do is wanting to return to the original range this morning. A longer term objective, if you have multiple contracts, would easily be down to that 31.5 area, because that's the major objective for sellers right now, especially for those who sold above those highs, right? Selling above here, etc. They're targeting that bigger move. But for me, my stop is above those highs. I don't want the market to come back to that area, so I'm looking for an objective equal or larger to that, which is down at 2136. So everything lining up pretty well. Overall, it's a fairly slow day, so this may take a little while, but the objectives are down at 36. Seeing a beautiful drop in price here. We've come very close, one tick away from our target. So because we've come so close to the target, I want to reduce the risk. We're going to move this stop. In this case, I want to float a negative stop just by one tick, and that's just to give the trade room. All of this drop happened in one big candle. And when you're in a range day, a lot of times there may be buyers who think essentially, okay, well, that was a huge move. Put yourself in the shoes of a seller. If you sold the highs and you get this massive bear candle all the way down in one shot, you're probably going to take profit. You're going to feel like, oh man, it just closed the market, right? So that's essentially why I'm leaving a slightly wider stop on this one. It is still a negative stop, but I want to see what they can do. If they can push down and fill us, then we know that we're good to go. We tested the target. In this case, now we've tested the target. I don't want to leave any risk on the table, so my stop goes to +1. When you come one tick away like that, okay, you can float a little bit of a negative, but the main goal is to reduce the risk, and that's exactly what we did. Now they've tested our target. The trade did exactly what it's supposed to do. Good old S&P, we haven't been filled yet. So now we have to wait for the market to come back, see if they can fill us down there, and then we'll be good to go. So 2136, still the open objective. Stop is down at break-even +1 now, and everything is lining up nice and strong. We just have to see the sellers finish the move off and give us our fill at 36 now. And again, you know, the overall objective in this case, I would assume likely magnet area would be the earlier range lows. I want to make sure that I get filled ahead of that area, which is why my target is ahead of that. But that would be the major area that you're expecting sellers to push down to. So it's not a surprise to see them tick you and don't fill you. That's the S&P. You got to get used to the S&P if you haven't been already. So we'll just wait, see if the sellers can get the push back down and give us our fill. Pushing back down again, we're seeing them shift down. Let's see if they can hit it. We've tested it so many times now, and we still haven't had a fill. There we go. We finally get the push through. Awesome. So that's what we were waiting for. And it just, that's the S&P. We're waiting for them to actually go through it. Most of the times you have to wait for the market to trade through your target to get the fill. Every once in a while you'll get filled earlier than that. But most of the time when it comes to the S&P, there are way too many orders for that to happen. So overall, a beautiful move down. That's exactly what we were looking for. And that's going to do it for me. So if you have any questions about it, feel free to send an email to School of Trade. Don't forget to take a look at our trial at schooloftrade.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.